What's good, fam? It's your boy Big Matt, reppin' NC, man. It's been a minute since I dropped a little video. Figured I'd speak on a couple of things here. It's been on my mind lately. Reminiscing about some things, man. And, watching some of these other prison channels and stuff like that, man, and hearing other guys' stories and things like that. You listen to some of the things, man, and it's just wild, man. It can be guys from Cali, guys from Florida, Indiana, Tennessee, all the states, man. And then like when you're hearing the story, it just a lot of the shit is just so much the same. Like the things that happen to us. I mean, even if you ain't done a lot of time, I did 2.5, man. So that's not like some extra long stretch, nothing like that, But in that time, man, I seen a lot, man. Being in a high security, prison like that. The first time I went to prison twice, man. 3 times technically. I don't count the first time because it never made it nowhere. I didn't even get on a whole camp before I got home, so I don't even really count that. So. But the first time, was a year, 12 months. Second time, I did the stretch. And the first time I went to prison, man, I was young, 25 years old, and they put me in this little, minimum security place. I mean, it was 5.5 hours up the road, so VI was off top, and it was never gonna happen. I was all right. I did get some mail. I did get some money. Had a female from home writing. My brother wrote. My people kind of kept up with me. It was my first time doing any prison time and all that. And even the way I did it, you know what I'm saying? Like in the courtroom how I got my time, was respected. You know what I'm saying? I did it like a man, bro. I didn't even, I had went in there. And after an incident had gone down, I had been drinking. I'm not going to explain the whole thing, but there was a firearm involved, and it got pretty serious, and a lot of cops showed up. And then I got arrested, and I was on probation with a PO that just had it out for me. For some reason, these POs, they just got it out for me, man. For some reason, I guess I rub them wrong. I don't know, man. But, it's just, fuck them. That's what I say, fuck them. Fuck the ones that ain't done right by me, you know what I'm saying? Or by my people, you know what I'm saying? There's a couple of them that's out there that's good, really kind of want to help you, you know what I'm saying? They ain't trying to just, put you in them, stainless steel bracelets every month, you know what I'm saying? They are trying to maybe help you out, help you find a job, help you get in places, and this and that and the third, reintegrate and stuff like that. But that's very rare, man. Very rare. And when I went in the first time, man, like I said, it was it was a little bit of a serious incident that initially got me locked up. I was already on probation, and when I went in after, that crazy night happened, there was a firearm involved. A lot of police came, and there was some other people in the house. So, they thought it might have been some kind of hostage type deal, but it wasn't, So, I surrendered. After, they bullhorned me and shit. And I was like, look, I'm coming out, man. Don't shoot me. I'm gonna put the gun on the porch. It's like when you step out, take your shirt off, put your hands in the air, hold the gun by the butt, make sure it's not loaded, have the action cocked back on it, blah, blah, blah. And so I did everything they told me to. And as I was walking out to the cop car with my hands on my head and shit, it's pitch black outside. And some cop comes from in between the two cars as I'm walking towards the police, following directions. And I mean, he just like straight up Goldbergs me from the side, bro. And I mean, we went, bro, I swear to God, we went 7 foot to my right in the air. Like from that shit, man, he hit me good, bro. I felt that shit for a couple of days, and that's how they took me down. Anyway, when I went to the courtroom, man, it was like 7 days before I got in front of the judge. So I had a few days to think about what was going to happen, and the way things was going with my PO and everything, I knew what time was hanging over my head. I had 4.5 years hanging over my head, and at this point, man, it had just, I was in a bad spot mentally. I was in a bad spot, as far as my living situation, and life wasn't going good, and I was just depressed. And, so after that 7 days when I went in the courtroom, man, I just, they called my name, they pulled us all out, and they sat us in the jury box, on first visit, first appearance. And I waived my right to an attorney, filled out that paper, then the judge, or whoever called my name, the bailiff, whatever, I stood up like you do at this courtroom, stood up, and the judge, man, it was Judge Warren in Brunswick County, man. So if y'all ended up having a lot of people know him. Big name. I think he's retired now, but he was a judge there for a long time. I believe he was actually in the DA's office before that too. So he's known down there. So it was Judge Warren was on the stand, and I'm 24, 25, and I stood up. And he's like, they explained blah, 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 what your charges are, what this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what, Your Honor? I waived my right to an attorney. I was like, I'm sick of all of it. I said, you know what, man? I'm guilty. I'm guilty, bro. I'm guilty. I'm just ready to gas up the van and let's ride, man. I'm done with it. And he said, you know what you're saying? I said, I know exactly what I'm saying. He said, all right, then waive your right. You did waive your right to an attorney. I'm signing that. And he said, well, I want to ask you a few questions. And that struck me as kind of weird, you know what I'm saying? Usually if you do that, they just go straight up, they go ahead and they just sentence you, and then that's the end of it, right? And that's what I thought was going to happen. I didn't think I'd get the full 4.5. I figured they might do like a 2.5 or something like that. And so I stood up, I was already standing up. The judge actually stood up out his chair, and like Judge Warren, and like went and like put his arms crossed, and like with his leg up, just got up on the corner of the bench there, was looking straight at me, you know what I'm saying? Leaned up with his arms up like that, and he was like, I want to ask you a few questions. And I said, all right, Your Honor, that's okay. He said, I ain't gonna repeat the questions, man. That's my business, man. That ain't got nothing to do with y'all. Anyway, it ain't have nothing to do with like no questions about telling on nobody or anything like that. It's questions about myself, me. He was asking me about my habits, what I do, and me. And I told him the damn truth, how I was living, where I was working, what I did, how I drank, how I used, or whatever I was doing. And he said, well, I'm looking at this. You've already been sentenced because I was on probation, so you've already got to suspend the sentence. So when you plead guilty, it just activates that sentence. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was expecting. But I wasn't expecting to get the whole full thing. I was maybe expecting to get half of it, at least run, because it was a number of charges, and I figured they'd run them together, most of them, you know what I'm saying? At least some of them, and I wouldn't get the whole thing, right? But I was just sick and tired of the whole coming to my house all the time, me and my PO bumping heads every month. She done violated me 2-3 times. I'm bonding out of jail and shit, and it's costing money. It's costing me time off of work, costing me time out of my life. And it just became to the point where, it's like I'm already beat down, man, and I've been in this damn system at this point for like 9 years, 7 years already. And I'm sick of it, man. I'm sick of it, man. Y'all had your boot on my neck for too long, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to breathe. I don't care. I got to go do some time, man. But I'm trying to come on up out of here, and I'm going to breathe, man. This was 2007, before they changed the laws here in North Carolina. They still had what they called the Fair Sentencing Act and the Structured Sentencing Act. Okay, Structured Sentencing Act is what you hear. I think every state does it. All right, it's like when you catch a felony, when you catch a charge, say you get a little possession of controlled substance or whatever, it's your first offense or whatever. They might say, I'm gonna give you 6 to 8 months incarcerated in the NC Department of Corrections. And then if you're eligible, you might say, then I'll suspend that, put you on probation, blah, 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 right? 6 to 8 months is what I was getting at for structured sentencing. Fair sentencing is different. That's where they give you flat time. You know what I'm saying? That's the old, we call it old law, new law. That's what it's called here in North Carolina, old law, new law. Well, mine fell under old law. And even though a couple of the charges that was on there weren't eligible for old law sentencing, he cut me slack, bro. He just cut me slack, man. And out of that 4.5, I thought I might get 2.5, because you know, I mean, all the other charges, possession of a firearm by felon, possession of a firearm, threatening, it was a slew of shit, man. And you know what I'm saying? And they dropped it all down to the probation violation and one other thing, and just gave me a flat 12 months, man. But this prison time I did this time, it was my first time in, and from the charges that they dropped, my points wasn't high at all, so I just went to a minimum camp here. There's only 3 levels in this state, man. You got minimum, medium, and close custody. That's it. There ain't no levels 1 through 6 or any of that in between shit. It's either your minimum and you're in green pants and green jacket, green clothes, or you're medium and close custody, which is in brown. So you're either in greens or browns, and that's really it. The only thing higher than that is what we call, what would be like California SHU program, is long-term hold. That's MCON, HCON, and ICON. Okay, maximum condition confinement, high security condition confinement, and indefinite condition confinement, or indiscriminate condition confinement. I can't remember what I stands for, but anyway. And there's different levels. You have to start working your way back down before you can get back into maximum security and get back on the yards, shit like that. So that's not how our SHU type program works here. And but this first prison term, man, it was just nuts, man. They sent me to these little green clothes camps, man. I was able to go get jobs off the camp, you know, in the towns, doing whatever, you know, little works here and there. Maybe I was on what they call CWP, Community Work Program. So I was able to go out and do like weed eating ditches, man. We painted a, forget what they call it. It's like it's for kids, man. It's like preschool. It's like First Start or Jump Start, something like that the kids go through. Young kids before kindergarten, you know. Fresh Start, something like that. Anyway, we got a contract to go in that building. This one thing I won't forget. And we all went in there, right? And the ladies and everything was nice. Our job was just to go in there, clean it up real nice, paint all the walls, make it look good, put some, you know, some, kind of, I'm blanking, the stuff that goes around the walls, that rubber, you know, baseboard stuff that goes around the walls, code base. We can code base the whole place, you know, make it look nice for the opening of the school year. This was summer. And I'll never forget, man, when we got to the back office, there wasn't nobody watching me. So there was a phone plugged in, right? I don't know if I should tell it. I'm gonna tell it anyway. It's been long enough. So I pick up the phone, right? And it's like, not a dial tone, but like you know, like it's waiting for me to hit a button. So dial 9 to get out, right? I mean, I don't know how the phone system works, but that's what you always hear, dial 9 to get out. So I hit 9 and bent, then I got the dial tone. I was like, oh crap. So I dialed my people, I start calling people back there on the phone. I got my homeboy watching the door and shit, right? So I make a phone call, you know, a couple phone calls, then I watch the door for him, let him make some phone calls, then the word gets to the other guys, and they're coming back there making phone calls, and then the spot kind of got blown up, right? They knew we was going back there. They didn't never catch someone actually on the phone, but they knew the phone was back there, and they seen people going in and out back there, so they knew something was up, right? So they come and just took the phone out the room, you know. But that was a nice little be able to talk to people, you know. Back then, there wasn't no phone cards, none of that. If you couldn't accept the collect call, you couldn't talk to the people unless it was on a 3-way. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't direct call somebody unless you had somebody who would do a 3-way for you. You know what I'm saying? So, being able to call some of the people, straight out, it just felt good to be able to have that freedom, not being monitored, have a normal conversation, being able to get the word out about some things, about some people that was in there with me, and a few things I had some questions about a couple guys that was in there with me that I thought I might have to handle something with. Now, this first place that they sent me to after processing, when you process for that time, for the minimum time, back then, you used to process at this camp called the Noose, NEUSE. It's closed down now because of a massive riot they had in there. They tore up the canteen, stole everything, burnt down part of the place. I think they reopened it as either like some sort of medical thing or maybe a women's thing, but it's no longer housing men. But that was the only like minimum security reception for the state on that I know of on this side of the state. I think there was one more up towards the mountains, but like on the coastal areas and like from, I would say probably from the foothills up towards Winston and back, you're going to process at the Noose, which is in Goldsboro, North Carolina, and right across the little street, like a road. You got the Noose here. Right across the road there is what's the name of that prison over there? It was a minimum security over there, right across the thing. So they had different fencing and all that shit right there. But it was a different prison. It was named after the county. I think it was named. God, I can't remember the name of it. This been so long ago, man. But you can look all these prisons up. They in Goldsboro, man. And so after processing, they sent me to this place called Tyrell Prison Work Farm. Now I had heard of the place. I had one of my homies tell me about it, and he was like, "Oh man, if you get sent there, bro, it's not that bad. You'll have fun, bro. It's actually a fun camp to be at." And see, back then in '07, you could still smoke cigarettes, on camp. You could buy them at the canteen, right? And so that was nice, and it was minimum security, so we had a lot of yard time, very big yard, 2 whole weight piles. We had a big ass volleyball court, 2 full court basketball courts. I don't know, 4 to 6, 8 maybe, horseshoe pits, and this really big yard to walk, and jog the track on, right? You could actually jog in this camp, you know what I'm saying? Because it's minimum, right? You can jog. They don't let you jog in the higher security, close custody. You can't jog around camp. They get you jogging, they'll stop you. You gotta walk. But anyway, so I get in there, and it's Tyrell Prison Work Farm. So I'm like, work farm? What the fuck is this? I ain't finna be out in no field picking potatoes, man. Y'all might as well take me to the hole. I'm gonna cause problems. I'm getting up off this camp, right? Plus, it's so far away from home, I ain't gonna get no visits or nothing. So I'm all upset that they sent me way the hell up here in the bumfuck Egypt, North Carolina, way up towards the Virginia border, right on the coast, kind of up there, near Pasquotank. Now, anybody that's done time in this state has heard of Pasquotank Prison. All right, it's one of the most notorious prisons in this state. I think two years ago maybe, they had 6 people killed, 6 staff members killed there in like a botched escape attempt. There was another escape attempt where 2 officers were killed when they were trying to get out. It's just really been known as one of the worst camps in this state, man. It's close custody. It's real deal Holyfield shit. Like, inmates killing inmates like it ain't shit. Inmates assaulting guards like it ain't shit. And it's just a bad camp. Probably, I would say it's at least the worst camp to be at. If you get sentenced in this state and they tell you you're going to Pasquotank, bro, man, you better have your game face on when you get there, man. You better be ready. And so anyway, it's right up the street from the prison I was at. And I was at a prison I was at, Tyrell Prison Work Farm. It's called a step-down prison back then. And it was like guys that was in Pasquotank and in the higher securities, they had worked their levels down. Well, they bring them down to a minimum security, but it's a different type of minimum security. It's like a high watch type facility for mostly gang-affiliated individuals that have just made their minimum security. They want to see how they're going to act in minimum security, if they want to keep them there or not, or if they need to ship them on back up to the maximum security prison. You know what I'm saying? So it's like what we call the observation camp. And So I get there, and of course I run into a couple of homeboys from the hometown, and it's real laid back, man. I mean they had like guitars and shit, like you could go in there and play guitars. You could check the guitars out, play guitar on the yard. Like I said, man, we had volleyball courts. They allowed us to set up like a volleyball tournament and all that. And winning team got like a real big bag full of like canteen products and shit like that, and paid for by them, and they had different programs. It's just minimum security place, right? But it jumped off in there, and I'm telling you, like, the place had no air conditioning. It's way up north, like up in Columbia, North Carolina. It's a small little town of probably like 5 people that were all cousins at one time that all fucking got married together, and then they had their little family, and now there's probably 2,000 people or something that live in a small little town, man, up there north, way up north, near that lost colony. It's near that lost colony at Roanoke. That's like not far away. And so it gets real hot up there, real humid, man. Like during the daytime it would be cooler in the dorm, because this is dorm setting here. It'd be cooler in the dorm than it was outside during the day, during the heat of the day, because the cool of the night on the roof would be pushed into the building by the hot of the sun. You know what I'm saying? So then at nighttime, the cool night air was pushing the hot from the roof down into the building. So it was hotter at night in the building than it was during the day. Well, we're only in the building really at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then people want to get the showers at night right before they lay down. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so hot, you want to go in there and take at least a little bit of a cold shower and try to get back to your bunk and lay it down, man. And my bunk was all the way at the back of the block, man. And I'd be sweating before I got back to my bunk. You know what I'm saying? So needless to say, the heat, the water in the water fountains is already hot. The water we have in the drink, you know what I'm saying, is hot. Everything's hot. Everybody miserable, sweating all the time. Different gangs all over the yard. So there's always tension. There's always pressure from somewhere coming. And you know what I'm saying? But all in all, man, it was really a cakewalk, man. I got to leave the camp every day and do that job in town, You get to check out chicks, and just get out the camp for all day, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it wasn't bad, man, you know what I'm saying? And this is how bad I hated that PO, bro. This is how bad, fellas. Like, whenever I was actually eligible, because I fell under the Fair Sentencing Act. I had 12 months flat, so I was eligible for parole. Well, when my parole came through, they take me down the road, and what they wanted to do was take me down to this place called Dark Cherry to do. Back then it was a 28-day release, like a rehab, and then release you on parole. So when they get you there and they get everybody off the bus, they get you off the van, and y'all all go downstairs into the room where the first person walks in is a big fat ass fucking parole officer, and he's breaking down the rules, right? Like, all right, if you choose to take the program, you're here, right? As of right now, you're on parole, and sign this paper. If you don't want to be here, sign this paper, and you're going back. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, so damn, I done made parole, I ain't got 2.5 months left, but my parole is gonna be 6 months. And I was like, or not 6 months, it's gonna be like four or 5 months or something like that. And I was like, look, and when he was explaining the rules, he was like, look, if you mess up on parole, they can make you do your time, but they can also add on time for violating your parole in certain ways. You can get an extra 6 months. Now, that's not without catching a street charge. If you catch a street charge, you're gonna do your parole violation and your street charge, box card. We call box card. It means you got to do one sentence and then the next one right behind. You know what I'm saying? Not together. You're going to do one, then the other. So I'm like, look, man. He was like, any questions? I was like, look, bro. I was like, what are the odds, man, that whenever I get this parole here, right, that whenever I go home, I'm going back to the same place I was on when I came in here on a probation violation that activated my sentence. Am I, if I move back to the same place, the same house, am I gonna get the same probation officer? You know? And he was like, "It's probably a 99% chance, yeah, probably." So as soon as he said that, I said, "You know what, bro? I need that paper, man. I need that paper, bro." So me and two other guys that was there out of probably like 30, 35 dudes signed off and was like, "Fuck parole, man. I'm not even trying to get that." He made it sound so much like a trap off, it just wasn't even worth it. So I was like, "Nah, I'll just finish my last few months out here. They'll send me back to Tabor. I'm already, in the mix and over there, and I'm comfortable there, and I can finish it up there." Or maybe they'll send me to the camp right here at the house, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully. Well, what they ended up doing was sending me to a camp called Sanford Correctional Institution. It's right outside of it's like south of Raleigh, right near Apex. And in Apex, they have what they call OSDT, which is the Officer Staff Training and Development Center. That's where, like, if you want to become a CO in the North Carolina prison system, you have to go through the program there at this one building. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many weeks they got to go or what all, any of that. I just know that's what they do there. And that's where the big wigs is at. That's where, like, the head of the DOC, that's where his office is at. Like, all the office people are there, and my job, I actually had the job to be the janitor for that building, which was a coveted job, because if you had that job on this camp, they gave you brand new clothes every day, brand new boots, brand new everything to go to work in every day. But now when you got back to the camp, you had to take them clothes off and give them in and get some regular clothes when you was on the camp. But then in the morning, you go get your good clothes and put them on to go to work, because they didn't want you looking like shit for them high ups up there. They didn't want to, they don't want the truth to be known. You know what I'm saying? How you really being treated. They want them to see what they think that they want to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, inmates is looking good, they're dressed good, everything's okay then. But it's just all a facade, a lie, a bunch of fucking corrupt motherfuckers out there, you know what I'm saying? Like, but anyway, it was a cush job to have for that camp. The camp was kind of sweet. It was a small camp, so it wasn't nothing really popping off. It was just a laid back place to finish out them last few months, man. So my first whole trip just was a trip to different summer camps. It was like a joke. Of course, I got in a couple of fights. There was fights that broke out over certain things. I did see a couple of gnarly things while I was in there. We had the white dudes. We had one table. The day rooms. All right, there was an east wing and a west wing. Each wing had five blocks in it. Right. I was in E dorm, which is like, if you got my finger here, it's like this one. And then that's the east wing. The west wing, I'm sorry, that's the west wing. The east wing on the other side had the same 5 like that, right? And so they had me in E2, and my bunk was the very last bunk on the left by the emergency exit door in the back of the block, right? And I'll get into it. There's a story I'm gonna tell about this camp later in a different video about me. I think y'all will get a kick out of it. Everybody wants to hear a good CO story. You know what I'm saying? I got one for you. So stay tuned for that. And by the way, man, subscribe to the channel, man. Let's get the word out, man. Let's get some support going, man. I'm trying to get some words out about these North Carolina institutions, man, and what's not being told. And on these other channels, no one that I know of has been interviewed that has done time in North Carolina. I don't know if they don't know. Maybe they think we don't have prisons here. Maybe they don't think we all soft or something like that. I'm here to fucking cancel all that shit out, man. I done text different channels. I ain't gonna call them out because ain't nobody hit me back from none of them. Nobody wanted to even respond to nothing. So I'm like, you know what? F it, man. I'll do this shit on my own. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, so that whole first trip, it was a joke to me, man. It was a joke to me. So when I got out, I wasn't punished, man. I felt like, fuck, prison ain't shit. You know what I mean? I had a good time. It's, whatever. That just set me up for failure down the road. You know what I'm saying? Like, the next bid was gonna be that one. It's gonna be that one that was like, look, man, you know, this is the big leagues here. This is the big boy camp. This is maximum security, big concrete steel block out in the middle of Tabor. It's out off outskirts of Tabor City, off Swamp Fox Road. You could look it up. Back when I went in 2000, early 11, it was it early 11? Yeah, early 11. I went in. It was it was wild, man. It opened in 2008. And my first celly when I got in there was on one of the first bus rides into the building, man. And the only thing I'll say about Tabor on this, I'll tell y'all some Tabor City stories, man, later. But when you walk in, you get off the bus, and they take your hat, they take your belt, they take all that shit, and all you're standing there with is a t-shirt on and your pants, right? Well, if your pants are too big and you sagging, the clothes lady is standing right there, and she'll downsize your ass immediately before you can get in the block, right? So, what I was getting at, man, like when you're walking in, this was kind of a trip. You go through the metal after they search you and they took all your shit and you got your property or whatnot. You slide your property on the side over there, side of the building. And or no, all the property bags go in a bin. It gets rolled up in front up there. Then as we walking into the we come into where the sally port is. We get out. There's a hallway, and then there's a metal detector you got to walk through. You walk through the metal detectors, and then you're going down towards the door, the double doors that open up, right, to go into the prison. And right above the door, anyone that was there at that time, I don't know if it's still there, but if you was there at that time, you seen it. And guards just work there, everybody that has been there from the times I just told you when I was there and before, this thing, when you walking in them double doors to go inside the prison, there's a big metal plaque hanging above that door, and it's like hand carved plaque, and it says Tabor Correctional Institution, and under that, in parentheses, it has The Rock. The Rock. Man, what the? The Rock. This is North Carolina, man. Come on, and I'm still in that mindset of that first bid, right? Not knowing where I'm walking into. I ain't never been in no maximum security, but so I knew it was gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna have to do some things in there. I heard stories about the high security places, and I've had people that's been to them, and I've seen face cuttings on my homeboys, and I heard the stories and shit like that, but I never went to one until then, right? So I seen that, and it was funny to me. I laughed, and I didn't find out later on. I was like, why they got that damn dumbass plaque hanging up on the wall when you walk in? They call it The Rock. And I was like, well, they call it The Rock, bro, because when you're here, you don't leave, man. No inmates go outside the fence at all unless you're transferring in or out or going to some outside doctor or something. No inmates there cut the grass outside the fence, nothing like that. You're in the fence, never leave. There's no road crews, there's no nothing. You're in the camp. With 1,700 men, there's 300 jobs, and maybe another 300-400 class positions. Other than that, you're doing dead time, bro. You're in the block all day just trying to hustle it up and do the best you can, man. So yeah, I just wanted to tell that little story about my first little prison ride into that little, minimum security side of everything, and how it's so much different, man, and it messed me up going, mentally whenever I had to go to the actual big house with the big boys, and put on, and it was totally different. I had a totally different thought of what I was going to be doing this prison time, and it was all because of what my charges were, and like the point system goes up, and I had an open charge for aggravated assault in South Carolina that hadn't been taken care of, and just a whole bunch of shit that just made me high security. It wasn't really my charge. It was some past charges, and well, it was one charge I was in there for, but it was mostly my past charges and write-ups I caught during that first bid, because I knew that they couldn't send me, maximum security, man. So I was just wilding out, smoking in the building, even though I could go outside and smoke, just doing dumb shit, caught write-ups for that, shit like that. And so I added my points up, and your points follow you. If you get points this big, it don't matter if you go to prison 15, 20 years later, them same points is gonna follow you to that next bid, bro. They don't fall off if you ain't in there. And so that's why they put me there. And I'll get into the Tabor story, later. I just wanted to tell y'all the story about, my first encounter with the North Carolina Department of Corrections and what I seen there. And it goes a lot deeper. I haven't even told y'all a tenth of the shit that went down there at Tyrell Prison Work Farm. It was wild as shit. It was wild. It was crazy. It was gangland. It was observation camp. Fights just about every day. A couple of stabbings. Just different things, man. And I might tell some more on that later on. And I want to try to get up with some of these dudes I done some time with, man. But, everybody got a nickname, man. Cowboy, Big Country, shit like that. I don't know these people's names, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where they live, and it's been so long. I'm not going to try to even look them up on Facebook or nothing, But if they looking at videos and they come across this and you was at Tyrell Prison Work Farm in 2007, then you know me. Because I was putting on for the place, bro. I was the best volleyball player on the camp. And I was putting on, I was getting down back then with it. I was 24, 25 years old. I was wild. It was just, whatever back then. So, anyway, that's all I wanted to say this time, fellas. It's done running into like 36, 37 minutes. So I'm gonna break off. But I hope y'all have a blessed day, man. Make sure y'all subscribe, man. Let's build these numbers up, man, so we get this word out, bro. I'm doing this shit just off of my strength, man. Ain't nobody helping me with nothing. Ain't nobody putting me on no interviews. Ain't nobody, calling me, giving me no tips or none of that shit, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's just me trying to put on for my state here, man. So if you rocking with North Carolina, then I'm rocking with you. So get at me, hit me in the messages, in the inbox, whatever. I got an Instagram. I think it's Matt D from NC. I believe that's what my Instagram is. You can find me on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Matt Davis, Wilmington, North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? Message me on there, whatever. We'll get together. I want to try to get some people on to spend here in some of these prisons here, man. And let's get some stories out about our state, bro. Let's tell these people how we put on, man. Not to promote it, but just to let them know, man. Like, don't overlook us either, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because we here too, man. And we going through the same mental issues and all of that y'all going through. I was listening to a guy from Florida yesterday, man, on his little shit, man. He was telling his story, bro. And I swear to God, man, like when he got out, he was telling about like how some of the mental things he suffers from, man. It's dead on exact same problems I got, dude. And from 23 and 1 guy, man, he said he felt the same shit. Like, so we all got these things in common, man, and it's all coming from this broken system that we've all been a part of and been forced to endure. And it takes us getting together, man, and even just talking about it, even if it's some funny stories, not everything that happens in prison is just all negative, blood, gory, beating up, killing, busting people in the head, that kind of shit, man. Some of it, you'll have a good time, and there are some normal people in there, some good folks you can trust. Now, very few of them, and I wouldn't recommend going in there with that mind state that, hey, man, I'm gonna find somebody I can trust or anything like that. But as you do your time, you'll find out who's who in there, man. There are some normal people in there, man. You know what I'm saying? And people that'll vibe with you. There are some loyal people in there. You gotta find them that'll rock with you to the right, wrong, good, bad, the ugly, go down with you. We'll talk about it later. There are some left, man. I'm one. I know a couple other guys on the street that I rock with here that I can count on in that regard. Hands down, wouldn't doubt them for a second. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it's very hard to come by these days, man. It really is, man. But you know, it's there. You just gotta find it. But you gotta be real careful when you know, gotta be real careful when you letting that guard down, man. And don't let it all down at once, man. You know, you know, man. If you've done some time and you've been around people, you know, criminals and things like that, you know, pretty much you can read through the bullshit and you can tell who's who and what's what and who you want to talk to, who you don't want to talk to, and who, you know, things like that. So anyway, man, much love to everybody. Hope y'all can catch a good day at work today in this nasty weather. And man, till the next time, man, salute. Take care.